Hey, it's Alex Gray here for Grey Area, and welcome back to another exciting artist spotlight with the support from the likes of Pete Tong, Danny Howard, Gorgon City, and first debuting on Anjunadeep in 2019, and now 4 years later releasing his first ever album, Universal Language. It's Simon Doty. Simon, welcome to Grey Area. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Now, talk to me. Why Universal Language and why now?
Yeah, I think like I had always talked about doing an album for for quite a while. A lot of people would ask me, "When are you doing your first album?" And yeah, it's something that sat as like a concept and an idea for quite a while, where I wanted to do like a mix album where it was more DJ oriented and it all went together. And I started working on it last year, and once I had a couple of the core tracks together, it all kind of fell into place really quickly. And then, in terms of the title, Universal Language, that's one of the things that's always the hardest for me, is coming up for the names of the tracks and names of all this stuff. It's honestly the hardest part. And we were trying to, think about a name for the album, and then the track with Roland Clark actually was the last one that was finished for the album. And, his lyrics, he says Universal Language, like his first line in the lyrics. So we were like, boom, there we go. Easy. Done.
Do you have a personal favorite track on the album?
Yeah, it's funny too, because a bunch of people have asked me that over the last few weeks. It's hard. I don't think I really do, actually. They all kind of have their own, fit their own sort of place and style and time. Sort of for me, they're all about, each one of the tracks sort of fits a place that time and place I would play in like a DJ set. Some of them were like kind of more peak time. Some of it's for sort of the end, or kind of being an intro or that kind of thing. But yeah, I wouldn't say I really have a favorite specifically.
It's like trying to pick a favorite child.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I'd say that this album ranges from, you got your deep house, you got your melodic techno and more.
Yeah.
What was the process like creating this album, and what would you say inspired you the most?
Yeah, so I mean, the process was, really, last year I think Soul Flow was the first track that was done, and once I had the first one done, then it was more about starting to like slot them in. It was cool to work on music in this way, because normally you just work on music and you put it out, but in this case I knew it was coming out as a mix, so I needed to make things for a specific time and place in the mix. So it was a little bit different way of working, which is fun, actually. And yeah, I mean, I love a huge range of music. So, for me, it was about just having, something for everybody, almost a sound and style for everyone. And like you said, it goes from deep house to like melodic techno and kind of everything in between. So I wanted to cover a lot of ground with it.
And I read somewhere that you said that, especially with dance music and, in the clubs, that a lot of the groove and the funk has started to dissipate out of it. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated one, probably because there's a lot of reasons, a lot of factors. But I think just with what's popular right now, some of the sounds and styles, it's really being geared towards, and it's also just the way our culture and society is going too, but it's really being geared towards Instagrammable moments and everybody on their phone. And, it is wild, because I'll just see it, and I'm not going to name any of the like brands or the events or the things, but, it's crazy to watch. I'll see some of my friends, post like a story, and, everyone's taking a video, and then even the track comes back in, and like a moment where people should be like dancing, and actually still, even when the track comes back in, just nobody dancing. I think the sounds and styles are really being geared towards, just being like epic, being memorable, being Instagram, being whatever, TikTok friendly, and all these kind of things, and Spotify friendly too. And so I think for those reasons, we're starting to lose just kind of the core of what it's always supposed to have been about. Just like underground dance music, and kind of the character and the soul that's always supposed to have, and the groove, and and the feel and stuff. So I think it was important for us when doing this album, and I wanted all the branding to kind of just be the opposite of that, actually. Like all the marketing stuff that went with it was showing old montages of clubs and and footage of people dancing and no before there was phones and all that kind of stuff, and just to kind of be focused on getting back to that type of a thing, that type of a vibe.
So there has been a few artists who have decided that they want a no phone policy at their concerts and their performances. Now you are
Yeah.
touring at the moment.
Yeah.
Did it ever like cross your mind that maybe you wanted to go down that route?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's certainly something I've thought about, but it's also, I don't want it to feel like this really restricted thing ever. And or at the end of the day, like if someone wants to take a video, especially if it's you play a track, they don't know what it is, and they want to try to remember so they can figure it out and find it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So I didn't want it to be too restrictive for people, but like I said, I think there's obviously a fine balance, and I'm kind of proud to say I've noticed a lot of my events through this whole tour that it hasn't been a lot of phones. Certainly you see people with your phones and taking video and stuff. Like I said, it's okay. It's not a bad thing as long as it's just kind of a healthy balance. But yeah, I've noticed so far on the tour it's been pretty good, actually.
So where have you got coming up next on your tour?
So this weekend we've got New York and Orlando, and then I've got Manchester, Glasgow,
Oh, nice.
Poland, Brighton, Singapore, Bali, and then
Oh my gosh.
that's the end of phase one. So it's been basically I've been doing shows for 3 straight months, like shows every weekend,
Wow.
3 straight months. This is the last month, and then I have about 10 days off. I think I'm going to stay in Bali, and then it kind of starts into all the festivals and the summer stuff, which will be fun. We're always looking forward to. And the first one for that is actually the Anjunadeep festival in Albania, which is always really special. So I'm excited for that one.
Where would you say has given you the best energy? What kind of venue? What country?
I was really impressed with Argentina. It was actually it was the first weekend of this whole tour, and it was my first time in Argentina too, and I've heard a lot about it, and that the fans are great, and whatever. But it was to see it in person was pretty special, and I would almost say it was kind of like a religious experience. They're just into the music in a totally different and unique way, and it kind of along the lines of what we've been talking about. You just don't see people on phones much, and you don't see sort of a lot of things that you'll see in North America, for example. And the people are really, really just locked in and into the music and down to go for the whole journey. Both nights I played, I was 3 a.m. till 7 a.m. both times,
Oh my
and
God.
the people were literally just ramping up as it hit 7 a.m. I mean, they were ready to keep going, which is wild. And a lot of times, you play in North America, if it's over a couple hours, I think oftentimes you can just tell, especially hours like that, people definitely lose the energy a bit. But people in Argentina are ready to go for sure. So yeah, it's a pretty special place from a DJ perspective.
Sounds like you need to go back.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you like I said earlier, you first released a track on Anjunadeep in 2019. You guys been
Yeah.
working together since then. How
Yeah.
did that relationship start?
So at the time, I actually had a manager who was saying, he sort of putting the idea into my head, we should send stuff to Anjunadeep. And obviously I knew the label, but it wasn't super high, on my priority list at that point. But I was sort of starting to change. My sound and style was just kind of naturally sort of shifting a little bit. And so it started to make sense. We sent a couple tracks and we didn't actually hear anything. So I gave one of them to my friend Elke Klein. Actually, he's got a label called Days Like Nights. It's part of Armada, and he signed it right away. And then, about a month later or 2 months later, we had a message from Anjunadeep saying they wanted to meet at ADE in Amsterdam. And we were kind of like, oh, that's random and weird. I'd sort of almost forgot that we had sent music there. And then when we went and met with them, they were like, yeah, we actually got in trouble. The boss, James Grant, was kind of mad that we didn't end up signing the track. And so, we really want more music from you. So, as soon as I was back from ADE, I sent them a few tracks, and I think they signed all of them. And then it's been,
epic.
Yeah, it's kind of just been growing and growing and growing ever since. It's a huge label, as far as like independent dance labels go. They get a lot of demos and a lot of music. So it's the onboarding process to get in with them is, really takes, you're looking at like a year type of thing if you sign a track before it's actually going to get released. So I think a lot of people get really impatient and stuff, but if you're patient and you kind of stay with it with them, they definitely reward you for that for sure.
So by the sounds of things, it's been a pretty long and healthy and prosperous relationship.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they have such a huge and loyal fan base. All the shows here, sell out basically, and it's really because they have such a huge, group of fans that are very loyal and they turn up to everything. And all the office staff and team have been, amazing to work with, to be honest. And it's kind of feels like family now at this point. And, it's been, really mutually beneficial, for sure. It's been great.
So when you're not touring and you're not, doing your album tour, you mentioned you're playing some festivals. Where can we find you? What festivals are you going to be performing at?
So yeah, I've got the Albania Festival, the Anjunadeep Explorations in June. I've got
I saw that.
a festival called Metronome in Prague right after that. I've got I'm at Luminosity, like sort of the famous trance festival in the Netherlands, is in June. I've got, I don't know, tons. Some of them haven't been announced yet, but I'm at Brooklyn. I'm at Brooklyn Mirage for like the Anjunadeep event, the open air in New York. The Anjunadeep Open Air, London is a really big one. One of the biggest ones for the summer for sure. So
I might come to that one.
Yeah, you should.
I might come
for sure.
along.
Yeah, it's in Finsbury Park. It looks amazing. So
It does. I saw it online
excited.
the other day, and I was like, "Oh wow, I need to go to that," because I've not been to an open air before.
Yeah, they're super fun. Like at the end of the day, when you get to be, I love clubs and all, but when you get to be out in, in the sun, daytime,
it's
evening,
amazing.
There's nothing like that. So those ones are really special for sure.
Okay. Now, you've been on the scene for quite a fair few number of years now. And with that brings a lot of experience and a lot of releases. You've definitely released a lot of tracks, which is amazing. How would you say that your sound has evolved since you started producing and creating?
Yeah, it's gone all over the place, to be honest. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I was releasing kind of my very first track when I was like 18 and, like 10 years ago type of a thing, just over 10 years ago. And I started out, it was kind of like tech house that I was doing at that time. It's quite a bit different than the tech house that's, sort of popular now. But yeah, I started working with this label called Definitive, and it was popular at that time for that sort of style of tech house. And, I was doing that for a bit, and I went on to doing stuff with Tool Room and a few other labels that were big at that point. And but then I just kind of felt like it was missing something for me, and so I sort of almost reset and started working on stuff that was a lot more musical. And then I kind of about 2016, 17, I was doing almost more melodic techno-ish, and did releases on some labels that are cool and still doing well, like Stillborn Talent and Ein Musica. And then, sort of slowly ended up shifting more into the Anjunadeep thing. And then it's funny because now too, it's almost like I've gone back to getting pretty housey actually. And it is almost like going back full circle a little bit to where I started making and how I started making music, but it's funny because it is always kind of shifting and evolving. And I think just personally the way I am, I just get a bit bored. Like I can't just keep doing the exact same thing forever. So for me, it's always kind of subtly shifting and changing and evolving. But I think that's good, and I think that's how it should be.
And what was it about that style of music that got you hooked in the first place?
I mean, I've always liked a huge range of music, even outside of electronic music. I grew up playing basketball, so everyone listens to hip hop. When you play basketball, so listen to hip hop, listen to rock, listen to everything for electronic music. So for me, that's actually been something that's always a bit challenging. Is I love such a huge range of music, and it's almost trying to like focus it back down and being focused, because I'll end up doing a track and then be like, no, I want to do like this techno thing completely different, and I want to do this and I want to do that, and super ADD almost. But I think for me, the core the core of what it always has to be is danceable, and club friendly, but still melodic and still emotional. Those are always like the ingredients that I'm looking for. So no matter what, kind of the style is, that's sort of the core of it for me.
And before you even kind of got into professionally DJing and making music your career, what were you doing before then? Like how did you transition into it? Were you working another job? Like, tell us a little bit about your life
So
Simon Doty as we know him now.
So I was a basketball player. I played basketball my whole life, kind of growing up, and then had a scholarship for university. So like all my university education was paid for to play basketball, essentially. And so I didn't, I did well in university, but I wasn't super focused. I didn't care about it a lot. I did an economics degree, and
oh wow.
yeah, and I was kind of more focused on basketball. And during that time, I was always really into music, and I come from a pretty musical family. But during that time, I was starting to get more and more into kind of the DJ thing and getting interested in it, and started like playing some sort of like college parties and things like that just for friends. And my mom is actually a teacher, so I was thinking about being a teacher. And the way it works here is you do your 4-year degree, and then if you want to be a teacher, you do a 2-year like after degree. So I'd finished the 4 years, and I was like, instead of doing the 2 years to become a teacher, I was like, I'm starting to DJ, and this is it. And like I remember telling my mom too, and she was kind of like, okay, like kind of like interesting, okay. So yeah, so I just pretty much just dove straight into it. I started doing everything I could, like just I was even playing like top 40, and even did some weddings and just things, anything I could to just start like just literally start. Yeah, exactly, just to start DJing and start being out there and in front of people, and then eventually started making music and getting more specifically into playing like electronic music like I am now. But yeah, it is kind of funny to like look back at it all.
So you obviously have a super busy schedule now, like you said, you're going like all over the world touring and playing, and I'm sure when you do have time to yourself, you're probably pretty exhausted. But when you do have moments to yourself and you're not working, what can we find you doing? What is like your pastime away from the music scene?
Yeah, it's funny because now I'll basically like do the shows on the weekend. If it's ones that are North America, I'll get back here on like a Sunday. And it kind of takes me, Monday is sort of like a recovery day. And then, I'm just back into like kind of working on music for the week and stuff. But I'm really into like fitness and stuff since I did, play sports my whole life and everything. So I'm always trying to like, stay as fit as possible. And especially too, when you're traveling, like it's hard to be like healthy. Sometimes, especially in the US, it's hard to like even eat healthy. It's hard to, when you're in airports in the US, like it's rare that they have anything other than like McDonald's and that kind of thing, So it's, so I'm really trying to just be focused on being, fit and healthy and all that kind of stuff. Other than that, I'm kind of nerdy. I have like a nerdy side for sure. So I love like Star Wars and, all this type of stuff. So I'm super into, those kind of shows and movies and things like that. I'm really into sports as well, like basketball. Right now it's the NBA playoffs going on. So I'm always, watching stuff every night and whatever. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up. It's not like it goes from being like chaos and craziness to like you just try to have it be as like peaceful and calm and quiet as possible during the week, and then you're back into the chaos.
Well, it's a shame we didn't do our interview yesterday, because then I could have said, "May the force be with you."
True, that's true.
We missed that.
We
missed that opportunity.
It was a big day yesterday. Big day.
It was a big day.
A lot of people would message me, when I woke up, like, "Man, it's so good." I was like, "Wow. Nice."
That's so cute. If you had to say, one thing about DJing that you love the most, and about performing and playing music, what would you say it is?
Yeah, I think like, you know, one of the things that's really special about it is that you end up, you know, you meet a lot of people that you wouldn't necessarily have met otherwise, you know, and you end up having these groups of friends in all these different, you know, cities and places. And, you know, for example, like Colombia, I've been to Colombia a few times, and now, you know, when I go to Colombia, I have, you know, all these people that I've met that obviously in any other circumstance in a normal, if I'm living kind of more a normal life and I'm here in Canada, you know, obviously I'm not going to meet all these people. So I think it's something that's really special. And it was, you know, part of the influence of the album, you know, just that's why it was called Universal Language. You know, literally you meet all these people, and I meet people that, you know, they only speak Spanish, and we literally don't kind of speak in, you know, in terms of actual like words, but you can definitely communicate, and you can definitely communicate through like a mutual love of similar music, you know. So I think that that's something that's really cool about doing this, and, you know, kind of keeps you going for sure when it's tough and when it's tiring.
Because it certainly can be, right? All those long hours,
Yeah.
early into the morning,
Yeah.
and then traveling across time zones. Like that is tough. And I think people
Yeah.
underestimate how difficult
Yeah.
that really is.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you say, oh, I'm going to Bali, and then I'm going to Manchester, and then I'm going to Prague. And people are
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, you're traveling so much.
Yeah.
But actually, it is exhausting because
Yeah.
you're like
Yeah.
picked up and plopped somewhere, and then
Yeah.
picked up and plopped somewhere else. And
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, so I get it. I get it. It's tough. And like you said, you need that kind of motivation to
Yeah,
keep doing
yeah,
it.
yeah, for
You know,
sure.
like you said, when it gets lonely, sometimes on the road, when
Yeah.
you're traveling a lot,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
when you're just exhausted
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
in your hotel room, lying on your bed, like, oh my God, I gotta go and play a set.
Yeah. Yep. I've done that a few times recently for sure.
I bet you're playing so much. You've been so busy. You still are going to be super busy for the rest of this year. Do you have any other? I know you've only just released Universal Language, but if I know you and your track record and the amount of stuff that you've been releasing, do you have anything else lined up for us this year?
Yeah, I have, you know, well, we have some remixes coming. You know, I can't really say who yet, but some ones I'm really excited about, some remixers for the album. And then, you know, yeah, I have, you know, other releases set, and, you know, and with some other labels too, you know, later on this year. And I think now, yeah, that I've done the album, it's kind of out there, and it's, I mean, obviously, you know, for fans and stuff, it's not done. You know, people are just like sort of hearing it for the first time. But, you know, for me, obviously, like I finished it last year, so it's, you know, it's on to just focusing on all the other stuff. And I think too, the bar is really high for, you know, DJing, and, you know, people, the expectations get really high. So I think for me too, it's always about just, you know, working on special remixes and edits and different things to play, and, you know, just so that it's keeping it fresh all the time and not just sort of playing the same stuff. So, yeah, but yes, there will be lots of other things on the way this year for sure.
Okay, well, it sounds super exciting. Congratulations once again on the release of your album. That's huge.
Yeah,
and I'm
so
so
much.
excited to maybe see you play at Open Air in Finsbury Park.
Sounds good.
It's June 24th, am I right? I know it's end of June sometime.
So there's a few different ones. Like, so there's the one for London is in August. The one in London is August 13th. I think it's a Sunday. It's like a daytime, literally goes from like 2 p.m. till
Right.
10 p.m. type of a thing. But yeah, I mean, they're doing open
Right.
airs all over the place. Like, they just announced one for Berlin, actually, I think is the one in June. And yeah, they have a bunch of them. But the London one is the big one for sure.
Okay. Well, hopefully we cross paths. And thank you so
Yeah,
much for
sounds good.
making time. I know you got to dash off to the airport straight after this to New
Yeah.
York. So
Yeah.
safe travels and best of luck with the rest of the year.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Simon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.